Hello, police. I need to report a serious issue. I just watched a YouTube live stream. There is a fundamentalist Muslim extremist threatening to kill multiple people, and he made it absolutely clear he fully intends on carrying this out. Okay, he's a man. Does he have any previous convictions? I don't think so. I don't think he's ever been in trouble, as far as I'm aware. He said he
UNALIVE.
people who said anything bad about Muhammad. And then people did say bad things about Muhammad because he was upset, and now he's threatening to
UNALIVE.
in real life, literally, actually. What? Okay, so he did say that technically he needs authority to do it. I mean, I'm not sure if that's his mom but if he gets this authority, then yeah, I think he really could. Well, I mean, he was very intimidating. He's at least a solid 4'9". I mean, I haven't seen him with. I mean, he's got shoes on though, so maybe it's a bit less than that. I think he just goes on YouTube, really. And no, the guy's intimidating. Like he's. Did you see the picture I sent? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about a Muslim missionary who goes to Speaker's Corner quite frequently, who just made death threats to a whole bunch of people. Let's watch the clip.
Understand something. This is Yemenite front, okay? I want these Christians to understand something. If you want to be vulgar like this, understand that I can say 1,000 things that will hurt you to your core. And not only that, I have no issue in threatening your life physically, realistically, not hypothetically. Okay? Understand this. I'm a Muslim. If you blaspheme against my God and my prophet, then that will be met with serious circumstances, which is why you only do it from behind a screen. And yes, Chris, when you're saying in the back chat, bro, just threaten people. Yes, I did just threaten people. You're not going to do that.
So the context here is that Yemeni, a Muslim missionary who goes to Speaker's Corner, who gives dawah on a fairly frequent basis, agrees to debate Paperboy on the topic of whether or not Muhammad was a deceiver. Immediately, I think that's actually pretty respectful, because that's obviously a defensive position, and he takes it on. And he even lets it stream to a Christian channel, Soko Films. Now, Soko Films isn't my channel, but the person who owns the channel wasn't available to host and stream that debate to his channel at the time. And it requires you to be a part of the StreamYard account, so you have to actually be there. So he asked me and said, hey Chris, could you step in and could you do it for me? And I said, that's fine, I'll do that. So I cleared my schedule, I jumped in at the time, and we had what was, generally speaking, an okay chat. You know, I made sure we didn't talk about anything that could be construed offensive. I was on my best behavior. Everything was okay until the topic of the Qur'an was brought up. And it was brought up in a very innocent way, because I think Yemeni had mentioned to Paperboy, hey, you know, I'd like to debate Chris on the Qur'an at some point. And so Paperboy just mentioned, speaking of the Qur'an, Yemeni mentioned he might want to have a chat with you about that and debate of some kind, which maybe we could set that up. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. And Yemeni just, man, that guy. I don't know what it is, but he got triggered, he got emotional incredibly quickly. He went from like 0 to 100 in a second, like instantly. And he started saying, Chris, you don't know what you're talking about, you're clueless, how dare you talk about the Quran, you don't know Arabic. And the scholars you quote, they're not good enough, they don't know Arabic enough. He gave just a really emotional, sort of degrading tirade of slanderous comments. He accused me of lying about it. I asked him where I was lying about it. He gave an example, and I said, no, that's not what I say. I say this. To which he knew that what I said was correct, and then sort of awkwardly moved the conversation on. I don't know. It was weird, really. I mean, his behavior started off, and this is all before the stream actually starts. This is just in the back rooms. So he's okay for about 5-10 minutes. Pleasant, just small talk, great stuff. The moderator guy's being really nice as well, great stuff, no issues there. And then just the mere mention of Karat just changes his demeanor entirely. He becomes elevated very quickly. He wants me to match that attitude, and I'm thinking, well, I mean, I probably could because I'm not debating, so it's not really an issue for me. I wasn't moderating. I'm literally just in the background streaming to Soko Films, which is just an automatic thing. It just needs me to be there to set it up. But anyway, we wait till the time of the stream approaches, and then he just kicks me back to the backstage, so I can't speak or anything, which, you know, is fine, but it seemed a bit salty given that we were in this discussion. But anyway, it's fine. And then Paperboy and Yemeni have a debate. Now I want to make it clear, I think that Yemeni at this point was still quite emotionally charged, and I think that the way he treated Paperboy was atrocious. The amount of just slander and like off comments about his personality, his memory, his intelligence, even his presentation he called into question. There are so many digs at him and about his work that I don't know. It's the sort of thing I thought would happen, but to be honest, Paperboy didn't do anything like that. Paperboy's behavior was immaculate. And even Yemeni admits his own behavior was pretty bad at certain points. But anyway, we get to a certain point with the debate. And at this point, I'm just in the background, I'm listening, got my earphones on. I start hearing Yemeni and the moderator call out certain comments from the Soko Films chat. And they start saying, hey, Chris, can you do this? So I'm like, okay, so I jump on, try to figure out where these people are. At this point, it's already been a minute or two since they called it out. So I'm trying to zoom up the chat and figure out exactly who it was and what the timestamp was and what was said. And I found some people, and rather than remove the comment, I actually just completely booted them off because I thought that was a quicker way of dealing with things. In the meantime, they're not continuing with the debate. They've now just pivoted to this one point and they keep escalating and escalating and escalating. And it boils down to Yemeni just picking a fight with Soko Films live chat. He was no longer debating Paperboy. He was in fight mode with people in a comment section, in a live chat, trying to pick a fight with them, call them names, and ultimately, as you just saw, threaten them with physical violence. Now, at this point, I couldn't really believe what I just heard. I thought, I even looked at the live chat to see what people were saying to figure out, wait, did I hear that right? Did he just threaten people? And the chat was full of people saying, look, how dare you threaten us? You can't just threaten people with physical violence. And at this point, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do anything anymore. Like, you've lost all credibility. You can't threaten people with physical violence. If you're in a debate and you find yourself actively threatening to hurt the audience, you have lost the debate because you have lost your temper. And he tries to back this up. He tries to say, look, this is not me being emotional. I'm genuinely just saying this seriously. I was in the backstages, and if you're in the backstage on a StreamYard chat, you have like a private chat that only the people backstage can see. And I was typing in there saying, who is it I should ban? What's the timestamp? But at this point, I was just saying, look, you physically threaten people. That's a weak, that is what we call a guy with short man syndrome, losing his temper and deciding to pick a fight with other people who are not even in the same room as him. They're behind a screen. He's literally in the comfort of his own room, threatening to people.
UNALIVE.
Beautiful. And all this time, he's just making like pop shots at me, just being like, how come Chris is not doing a better job? Why are these messages appearing? If Chris was doing his job, surely these messages wouldn't appear. Yeah, that's not how the internet works. It's pretty disingenuous to, first of all, assume that I'm capable of fully moderating at least 173 people at one time, while he's simultaneously baiting them to do it. I mean, if you engage with an audience and you start throwing insults or threatening to literally unalive them, then you shouldn't be surprised when people find you someone worthy of mockery, because you are someone now worthy of mockery. So they're just going to provoke you again by just saying things that they know will trigger you. This is the internet. You have to have realistic expectations for what happens when you put out content to anybody who you're now personally trying to threaten. He eventually brings me up randomly to sort of demand answers as if I am accountable for other people's actions, which is odd. I thought Islam specifically had something to say about people not being accountable for other people's actions, but here we go. And yeah, let's watch that clip.
So while we are waiting for guests, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring Chris on, and we're going to address what has happened with regards to the cross stream. Now, I know Chris in the back, you were which is very interesting because you were suddenly very quick to highlight three comments by Muslims, but when it came to moderating your side, you were very, very slow. What's going on here? I have one moderator.
Yeah, there were 173 people. We had, practically speaking, 4 moderators.
Okay, I have one moderator, but you were able to highlight 3 comments that you were not happy with in matter of minutes. 3 comments in a matter of minutes when I have one moderator. I mean, aren't you? I mean, it seems like you're very good at moderating my people, but very, very slow to be.
Okay, Yemeni, is this just a personal attack against me?
No, I'm saying why? Because the thing is, like, I'm just asking you the question here.
No, you're personally attacking me, Yemeni.
This is me questioning Soko as a channel. Okay, but considering you are the one who is currently in charge of the channel, right, with regards to this particular stream, what I'm asking you is, how are you so quick to highlight 3 comments from Muslims that you are not happy with, but when it comes to the Christians, you are very slow. You and your 4 moderators are slow. And like I
Okay,
mentioned,
so let me explain.
I'm asking the question.
There's 173 live people at one point that I saw. I was going through because Abu Shoaib, you were very good in pointing out the problems, and I went through and I found some and I deleted those people. I cannot be held to the standard that I have to do a perfect job when there are a ton of people, many of whom are not necessarily Christians, many of whom are trolls. This is the public space. This is the internet, Yemeni. You cannot assume. And by the way, by picking a personal fight with the audience, you ever heard of the Streisand effect? You know that that's just going to provoke people into doing it to get a more emotional reaction out of you. And then you have the goals to threaten people on a live stream, physically threatening people on a live stream.
Yes.
Okay, you've lost all. That's it. Like, in all honesty, my opinion is we should just back out of this, because if a Christian did that, I'd cut the stream and tell him to go home and repent. You understand that? I would never tolerate anything like that at all. To physically threaten people in a debate. I've never seen it, in all honesty.
I call him out because at this point, I'm honestly just thinking, yeah, we shouldn't even continue this debate. You don't respect people who are worthy of mockery because they threatened unalive people. You leave them. You turn your back and say, no, you've lost all credibility. You're not a person worthy of considering as credible. You're just no one now. An angry man who lost his temper. That's it. So when he brought me up, I made it clear to him. I said, look, you need to repent for that. You need to say sorry and apologize for doing that and say, look, I wasn't being serious. I just lost my temper. I'm sorry. He immediately doubled down and went, nope, I do actually mean this. Take it or leave it. And I thought, you know what, maybe he's just like, he was so triggered, he's in a debate, he's defending Muhammad, which is very challenging. So you could imagine that maybe once he'd slept, he'd like calm down, he'd realize, oh man, I really shouldn't have done that. I made a fool of myself. I think maybe Abu Shoaib, the guy who was moderating, would have said something to him and said, hey, you need to say sorry for that. No. That's not what happened. Actually, he then went on the next day to make another stream. This is the thumbnail for that stream, by the way, that he's made, where he completely doubles down and says, yep. In fact, he makes it even more explicit what he means when he threatens people. Let's watch the clip.
So is this a stream about me retracting what I said yesterday? Absolutely not. Okay. If any of you think that I'm going to retract any of the statements that I said yesterday, this is going to be the biggest disappointment of your life. What this stream is about, and if you read in the description, it tells you what it's about. You guys need to start reading the descriptions. This stream here is about being, for the Muslims, this is mainly for the Muslims, how to project strength with your enemies. Okay, those who outwardly show hatred towards you, and and we know, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that those who have hatred towards you and they say these things, they hide much worse in their hearts. So you only get a glimpse of it. So why am I not retracting the statements that I said yesterday? It's because all of that is within the paradigm of Islam. And they're the ones that ended up losing their minds. They thought I had a genuine reaction where I lost my cool and everything. No, from my side, it was all calculated, calm, deliberate. But they're the ones that lost their mind. Ooh, what am I going to do with this clip?
Imagine thinking you're so clever that you can threaten people live on the internet repeatedly and make an entire stream doubling down on it, and think that you've somehow still phrased it in a way that you can't get into legal problems. Yemeni, I mean, like, this is almost as bad as, like, yeah, I'm threatening you, but it was a joke, bro. I mean, it's almost, actually, no, it's 1,000 times worse than that, because he's not even trying to claim, he did it out of anger. No, this is deliberate, he says. This is 100% intentional. He is threatening people's lives to unalive them, but he thinks he's, like, worded it in such a way that he can get out of it is astonishing and not very clever, Yemeni.
So that's the first thing. Secondly, I've already clarified that and by the way, if any of you think that, my outburst yesterday was uncontrolled and because I got triggered. No, it was all controlled. It was all deliberate. Hence the thumbnail. Okay.
But Yemeni goes on and he brags. He's bragging on his own live stream that he can threaten people and he can get away with it. He brags multiple times saying, haha, they can't do anything about this. They can't do anything about all the things that I've said, all the threats I've made.
So, you know, and you can call the police. I mean, at the end of the day, what happens? What happens to me? Nothing. Nothing will happen to me except if Allah wills. Like, what threat are you actually giving me? The thing is, subhanAllah, and this is what it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear that when you stand by him, he ensures that they are afraid of you. And that's why they can do whatever they like. They don't know what to do with this material. They've clipped it. They've got a 9-second clip. They're going to spread it around. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? Huh?
I'll know what I'll do with that clip, Yemeni. Imagine being that guy. You're hiding behind a computer screen, you're threatening people, and then you brag about it behind your own computer screen again the next day with your own Muslim audience about how there'll be no consequences for this at all. Keep in mind, this is someone whom, I mean, until this point, I thought was just, I saw him get a bit heated at Speaker's Corner, but I didn't think this would be his character. But this actually is his character now. He actually is. I think this guy has serious issues. I think he needs to go to therapy for anger issues that predominantly either come from his early childhood or his lack of height. One of these two. But taking his own issues out on a public audience, I don't think it's acceptable. But fortunately, having met Yemeni, and I know Yemeni, I seriously don't think he's capable of any of these threats that he's given. Which is predominantly why he then goes back on it in a two-faced, deceitful way to explain to his own audience, don't worry about it, I would never do it, I just wanted to sound like a big man. He wanted to sound a bit more like 6 foot rather than 5 foot. And he wanted to feel empowered through Islam, the beauty of Islam, that according to Yemeni, fully permits this kind of violent behavior. Since, of course, there's no authority to actually do it. This is the equivalent of saying to someone, I would unalive you if only I had the practical means of doing so. And then believing that somehow that has undone the threat. It doesn't undo the threat, it just means that you're weak. Really. I mean, that's what you're saying. You're saying, I would unalive people, many people, but unfortunately, I'm too weak to actually go out and do that. So it's okay because there's no feasible way I can actually enact that threat. That's not how the law works, Yemeni, in the Western world anyway. It's also not how YouTube guidelines works. Keep that in mind.
Exactly. And then Chris tried to act like a victim and tried to make it look like a personal attack. It's like, dude, you're in charge. Take some responsibility. You're the person I'm going to be looking at. So, you know, but anyhow.
My feelings are hurt, Yemeni. The feeling of burning rage inside me to just lash out and just to threaten to do... Oh, no, wait, actually, I'm pretty cool. Pretty icy, pretty chill about it, the whole thing, actually. What's interesting is before the chat, it was never said to me that I'm expected to moderate the chat. There was never any, oh, by the way, Chris, you need to go through the chat, you need to remove any bad comments. Please do that. We hold you accountable for that. That's your role. Nothing was ever said. In fact, the whole backstage thing before the live stream started is basically just Yemeni having a go at me. It's just a case of someone who's very upset. They're suffering from emotional damage. They've been a bit triggered. They've resorted to threatening people. And now there has to be someone who takes the rap for this that's not Yemeni. So it can't be Paperboy because Paperboy's been impeccable this entire time. It has to be me. Even though I'm backstage, I haven't said anything. I'm frantically trying to find these comments on this live stream. But I'm not doing a good enough job, despite the fact that they have no idea as to how much of a good job I'll have or have not done. But I will be honest and say that when he started making the threats, I intentionally just stopped caring because I don't think that I have to entertain such a violent person, to be perfectly honest. And when someone makes a threat, the way I respond is I just intentionally want to mock you. If someone threatens me, I'm actually going to get more jovial and I'm just ridicule you, to be honest with you. I find people like that worthy of ridicule, especially if you're half my size.
But they decided to blaspheme against Allah and his messenger. And I proceeded to threaten them with their lives, physically, not hypothetically, realistically.
Big strong man, Yemeni. He threats on people on internet. Big man. And remember, Muslims, Yemeni is telling you that you actually should be doing this too. So, for example, if you didn't like this video, just drop a threat right in the comment section. No, seriously, don't do that. I feel like that's like baiting. Don't do that at all. I'm not telling you to do this. Let's stop the threats. Let's stop the pitiful excuses and pretentious calls for theatrics, when in reality, you know full well, Yemeni, you would never do such a thing. So you shouldn't even say it anyway. Don't be a joke, Yemeni. If you lose a debate, just lose the debate. Don't threaten to unalive people who are watching the debate. Man. This is the sort of thing that people tell you about, but you don't really realize that actually, no, there are people who are dumb enough to do this. Watching a debate, and then you might genuinely think, as part of the audience, I might die. If a Christian were to threaten someone's life, as I said in the live stream, I would tell that person to go home, seriously reconsider what they're doing with their life, and repent. Yemeni thinks this is the best thing since sliced bread. This is the best thing since Dodgy Dower came to Speaker's Corner. He now gets to make pathetic attempts at violence, knowing full well he doesn't have the means or the will or the strength to enact them.
So that's how it works. And because Islam encourages us to deal harshly with those people. When you threaten something or insult something that is worth more than my life, me threatening your life, I'm bringing it down a notch, okay? And these people are not just, and you have to remember that these people who watch those sort of channels, they associate with the likes of Bob, David Wood, and so forth. And they associate with people who have actually committed acts of blasphemy.
Now notice what Yemeni, our little troublemaker, has to say regarding those who are guilty of things. He plays the game of guilt by association because he says Bob and David Wood have already done blasphemous acts. So in effect, he's now saying it is just to make threats on people's lives to those such as Bob and David Wood. But there's a problem here. I'm pretty sure that this also would extend to me because I'm associated with these people. Therefore, I think he's going to make the same claims as me. And keep in mind, even if you say anything insulting in this guy's view, that apparently is blasphemous. Ignore the fact that I don't think Yemeni actually knows what blasphemy means. Blasphemy is towards God, Yemeni, only God, not to people who are merely human. But anyway, because he holds that view, I think that very much extends to me. So that's fun. So what have we learned here today, ladies and gentlemen? We have learned that Yemeni needs to repent for threatening the very lives of Christians that say naughty things about Muhammad or Aisha, heaven forbid, because there couldn't be any reason that anyone would say anything bad about Muhammad. Right, Yemeni? The fact that there are people that give dawah at Speaker's Corner that hold this view and think this is perfectly acceptable demonstrates to you what is wrong with Islam at its core. Islam teaches this as doctrine, as witnessed by the people who propagate it. Yemeni openly says that this is an Islamic principle. We are Muslims. This is why we can do this. We don't have to love our enemies. We don't have to tolerate things that we consider to be blasphemy. Rather, we can threaten people. This, of course, should not be tolerated. It should be mocked at every point and every step of the way. You mock people that lose their temper. You mock people that make threats. And you get up and you say, you, my friend, forgive me for this, but you, my friend, have a little bit. You say these things online behind your computer screen, and then you try and give reasons as to why you're not going to enact them because you are a coward. And that, I think, is worthy of mockery. And that's why I'm making this video. To expose you for doing that because, my gosh, you surprised me, Yemeni, man. I didn't think you would do anything like that, but apparently that's who you are. Anyway, pray for Yemeni, guys, because I think he's unserious. I know that we're mocking Yemeni, but we also do need to remember he is made in the image of God. Pray for him. Pray that he understands that this isn't acceptable and that he repents of it. Preferably in another live stream, Yemeni. Preferably. Maybe not one with you in the background on fire. I mean, maybe that would be better. But seriously though, always leave the door open to everyone, even just a little bit, because it is possible people can change. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not a Christian already, then today is the day. You can email me at chris@speakerscorner@gmail.com if you have any questions about the faith. I hope you all have a great day, and that includes Yemeni. I hope this video hasn't made him too angry. God bless you all. Have a great day. Take care.